You stand at the edge of the world.
Not the modern, round, Google-mapped world, but an older one that thinks the horizon is a final curtain, and the desert beyond it is the backstage where gods and ghosts rearrange the scenery. The sun's already blinding, and it's barely breakfast. Beneath your sandals, the sand isn't hot. It's searing, like the ground itself has opinions about where you're going. You shield your eyes, but the dunes just shimmer and sway like drunken hills. You can't shake the feeling that they're watching or waiting. Behind you, the chatter of camp is quieting. Thousands of men, many of whom don't even speak the same language, are preparing to vanish into one of the least forgiving places on the planet. They're checking leather flasks, twisting turbans tighter, scratching gods into the handles of their spears. You hear snatches of prayer, curses, nervous laughter. The kind of laughter that tries to hide from fear, but doesn't quite make it.
And then silence. A horn cuts the air. Cambyses is ready.
Now you should know something about Cambyses II, son of Cyrus the Great, inheritor of a Persian empire so vast that some of its own governors didn't know where it ended. And yet, well, you wouldn't want to invite him to dinner. He was brilliant, brutal, insecure, paranoid, and worst of all, convinced he was right. So, of course, when Cambyses heard that the blacks of Ethiopia were rich, powerful, and unimpressed by his empire, he didn't send diplomats. He didn't even send an army first. He sent a box of insults disguised as gifts. A thinly veiled "you should bow now" message that the Ethiopian king immediately, and understandably, mocked. Cambyses, who never took mockery well, decided the best course of action was full-blown invasion. He would march across the Egyptian desert with 50,000 men to conquer a land that no map truly captured, without boats, proper supplies, or real intelligence about what he was walking into. He called it divine strategy. Historians still debate whether it was that or sheer royal delusion.
You, meanwhile, are just a soldier, a speck in this massive machine, a heartbeat among thousands. You signed up for coin and maybe glory. Instead, you got sand in your teeth before breakfast.
The army begins its crawl. Horses snort and toss their heads, their hooves sinking into the dust, like they're already second-guessing this decision. Camels groan, shields creak on backs. Every step forward feels a little like the earth is saying, "Are you sure?" The heat arrives early, not in waves, but like a blanket that never lifts. It muffles sound, slows your breath, and makes sweat feel pointless. You try to conserve water, but it's hard when your throat tastes like burnt parchment. By noon, the only shade you find is inside your own shadow.
One of the veterans near you jokes, "If we run out of rations, we can always eat our sandals." He laughs. No one joins him. You chew on the inside of your cheek and keep moving.
Occasionally, Cambyses rides past. He doesn't look dusty or thirsty. His white robes are too clean. You wonder what kind of magic that is. You wonder how he'll look if this all goes sideways. Spoiler alert, you'll find out later. The first night falls like a dropped curtain. And here's a surprise. It's cold. Not cool. Cold. The desert is all drama, burning by day, freezing by night. You huddle in your cloak, trying to pretend the ground isn't trying to suck the warmth out of your bones. Someone nearby hums a tune from home. Someone else sharpens a blade that'll probably never see battle. You fall asleep wondering what's worse, dying in war or not being remembered at all. Now here's your quirky fact of the day. Some ancient Persians believed that dreams in the desert were more prophetic, closer to the gods. So that night, you dream of wings, of a giant bird made of smoke circling above you, blocking the moon. When you wake up, there's no bird, but the moon's gone. Just clouds now, thick and strange. That's not normal. You file that under maybe nothing and keep walking. On the second day, the terrain starts to change. Fewer dunes, more cracked earth. The wind sounds like whispering. Maybe it's just the sand brushing your ears. Maybe it's something else. Either way, you pull your scarf higher.
Midday comes. One of the younger soldiers collapses, just drops like a puppet whose strings were cut. The officer checks his pulse, nods once, and the column keeps moving. No time to bury him. The sand will do that. It always does.
You wonder if his name will be remembered. You wonder if yours will. By the third day, your legs feel like they've been borrowed from someone less lucky. The wind picks up. Not a storm, but enough to sting your face. You pass bleached bones, probably animal, and broken jars half buried in dunes. At one point, a tattered sandal flaps on a rock, but it's not yours, not yet.
When you sleep that night, the stars look too close, like they're leaning in to listen.
You try not to think about how far you are from water, or food, or home. You try to pretend that the sand doesn't already know your name.
And you definitely try not to listen when the wind whispers it back to you.
You wake with grit in your mouth and something worse in your gut. Sleep in the desert doesn't refresh. It resets you to empty. Your joints crack like old wood as you stand. Around you, the army is stirring, but slower than yesterday. The early momentum has worn off. Everyone feels it. Something's wrong, and it's not just the thirst.
Cambyses is already on his horse. He's shouting about destiny again. Ethiopia will fall before the might of Persia, he declares, his voice somehow reaching across thousands.
Someone behind you mutters, "Not if we fall first." It's quiet, but not quiet enough. A nearby officer glares. The soldier pretends to tighten his sandals. You pretend you didn't hear. Today is when the trouble really begins. You remember that time as the last point where things still felt possible. Hard, sure. Miserable, absolutely, but survivable. After this, the story forks, and most people never walk past this chapter. The sun rises like it's being dragged against its will. By mid-morning, it's hanging overhead like an angry god with a magnifying glass. Your tunic sticks to you in all the worst places. You've been sweating for so long, you're starting to forget what not wet feels like. And still, onward. Here's a historical fact. Cambyses II did not bring adequate supply lines. No camel caravans carrying barrels of water behind you. No advanced scouts confirming food caches. Just pure, uncut ego and the hope that the gods were into that sort of thing.
You don't feel like a soldier anymore. You feel like meat on a slow spit.
The wind kicks up again, grittier this time. And with it comes the noise, a low humming whine that starts in your teeth and ends somewhere deep in your stomach. You're not sure if it's real or a side effect of dehydration. Up ahead, a scout returns, looking pale under layers of dust.
No wells, no shade, just more of the same.
He says it like someone announcing the weather. And Cambyses, he shrugs. Then we go faster.
Oh yes, brilliant. Go faster through an endless hellscape with less and less food and more hallucinations.
By noon, the real fun begins.
A group of soldiers near the rear starts arguing about a lizard. One swears it winked at him. Another says it spoke and told him to head back north. They start shouting. One draws his dagger. The lizard wisely disappears into the sand.
You walk faster, pretending none of it happened. Another group tries to dig a shallow trench to trap groundwater. All they find is heat and bitter salt. One man drinks it anyway. 10 minutes later, he's foaming at the mouth.
That night, no one sings.
You sit by a flickering fire made of camel dung and dead brush and try not to look anyone in the eye. Not because you're ashamed, because you're afraid of what you might see staring back. Now here's your off-topic fact. Ancient Persians used to believe that staring too long into fire could give you visions, not always good ones. So you close your eyes instead and hope sleep comes without pictures. The next morning, a drum beat stirs you awake. Not music, just a slow, steady thump. You think maybe it's a ritual or a warning.
Nope, it's just a man repeatedly banging his head against a rock. Trying to wake up, he mutters. I think I'm still dreaming. No one stops him.
You shuffle forward, and the scenery doesn't change. You've walked for days, and the view is still a cracked painting. Beige on beige on beige. The only colour comes from the dark blue of exhaustion under your eyes, and the angry red of chafing on your thighs. A captain rides past, doing his best to sound chipper.
Nearly halfway there.
You want to ask, halfway to what? Death, madness, heat stroke? Instead, you nod and keep moving. By now, the idea of Ethiopia has become a rumour. The empire feels like a story someone once told you at a tavern. You've stopped counting your steps. You've stopped measuring time. The sun rises, the sun sets. You move, you sleep, repeat.
On the fifth day, it happens. A scout from the eastern edge of the formation shouts something, waving his arms. At first, you think it's an attack. You grab your spear. But it's not an ambush, it's worse.
He points at the horizon where a thin column of dark air spirals upward like smoke, but not smoke. It's sand, a towering, spinning column of sand, alive and angry and moving toward you.
A sandstorm.
Now you've seen wind before, you've seen dust blow in your eyes, you've even cursed the occasional rogue breeze that knocked over your dinner fire. But this is a different beast.
It roars.
The officers shout orders you can't hear. You drop to the ground and wrap your cloak around your head. Someone grabs your ankle, maybe for support, maybe to pull you with them. You don't know, you just scream into the cloth and hold on. Lasts minutes, or hours, or days. Time folds in on itself inside the storm. When it finally passes, the world is changed. Tents are gone, men are gone, camels, wagons, water jars, all gone. Only a few survivors remain, their faces like wax masks, their eyes wide open but unseeing. You push yourself up and look around. You are standing in silence.
Cambyses is nowhere to be found. And for the first time you understand, this isn't a campaign, it's a reckoning.
The desert doesn't celebrate your survival.
It just waits. After the sandstorm, everything is quieter. Not peaceful, more like the hush before someone faints. You stagger upright, shaking sand from your ears and mouth. It's in everything, your boots, your food bag, your soul. Around you, the survivors move like broken toys, slow, twitchy, disoriented.
Someone nearby sobs, not from pain exactly, just from too much. Too much loss, too much wind, too much sand, in places sand should never be. The sun climbs higher, like it never left. Apparently the apocalypse doesn't interfere with its schedule. You blink and scan the horizon. Where there used to be tents and marching columns and the sound of shouting officers, there is now only beige emptiness. and a few lost souls coughing sand out of their lungs. Cambyses is still gone.
That's not to say he's dead. Oh no, he's too stubborn for that. But his personal guard and elite cavalry have vanished in the storm's wake, and none of you saw them go. Some say they ran east, others west. A few claim they turned invisible. You chalk that last one up to heat stroke and poor hydration.
One officer tries to rally what's left. He clambers onto a sand dune and waves a curved sword like it's a beacon. "Regroup," he yells. "To me! To me!"
About a dozen men shuffle toward him. Another dozen ignore him. You hesitate. Why are you still moving forward? Habit? Hope? Or just the knowledge that standing still here is death with a tan?
Eventually, you find a smaller group forming at the edge of a rocky outcrop. The leader, a grizzled lieutenant named Parser, wipes grit from his beard and says, "We march. No more orders, just instinct." You march. Now, historically speaking, Cambyses' army probably did split at this point. Herodotus mentions 3 separate forces, one to attack Ethiopia, one to handle internal rebellions, and one, yours, that simply disappeared. Historians still debate whether that disappearance was due to a natural disaster or something less explainable. But you don't care about academic arguments. You care about your next drink of water. Because here's the problem. Your rations are gone. So are the camels carrying emergency supplies. You're now surviving off leather, rainwater caught in cracks, and something that might have been a desert mushroom. It wasn't, but you ate it anyway.
And then there's the heat. Oh, the heat. It's not just physical anymore. It gets inside your head. You stop sweating, not because you've cooled down, but because your body has nothing left to give. Your brain starts making deals with imaginary gods. You start seeing things. A city in the distance.
It appears at first as a shimmer, then towers, then rooftops. You yell out. Others see it too. It's there, real, solid.
You run.
And you hit a rock. Not metaphorically, a literal rock. You fall hard. And when you look up, the city's gone.
One man keeps running. He never comes back. You camp. That night under a ledge. Someone finds a dead bird, somehow mummified by the heat, and they pass it around like treasure. You get a piece of the wing, crunchy. Not tasty, but better than licking your own sandals.
You try to sleep. It doesn't come easy.
Here's your off-topic fact. Ancient Egyptians used a mix of honey and natron to preserve the dead. That same salty compound. It's what's burning your eyes right now.
The next day brings a new sound.
Low, repetitive, almost musical.
You crest a hill and stop. In the valley below there's something unexpected. A line of stones, maybe old foundations, a shape that might be a road.
Parser squints. Not on any map.
You laugh. Neither are we.
Everyone chuckles. First time in days.
You descend, carefully, half hoping for an oasis, half expecting another mirage. But it's neither. It's something real, though ancient and ruined. Blocks of carved sandstone, columns fallen like exhausted gods, symbols scratched deep into walls, not Egyptian, not Persian, something older.
Atlantis? Someone jokes.
Another scoffs. Probably a failed caravan stop. You kneel by a carving, a face, not human. Long, narrow, with eyes too wide apart. It stares into nothing. Or maybe at you. You touch it.
It's warm.
That night, you don't dream. Or if you do, you don't remember. All you recall is waking up with sand in your mouth again, and a feeling that the face is still staring.
And in the distance, something moves. Too tall to be a camel, too smooth to be a man.
You blink. It's gone,
You don't tell anyone. You're not the only one seeing things anymore.
which is weird because nobody in your group speaks Latin. You look over and it's one of the water carriers, young, sunburnt, peeling like old papyrus. He's just sitting there, whispering a dead language to his goatskin flask like it owes him money. You consider asking what he's doing, but decide wisely that conversations with delusional people before sunrise are never productive.
Instead, you stand and stretch. Something in your back pops. Probably fine. Probably.
The ruins from yesterday are still visible behind you, half sunk, half silent. The carved faces there too, still warm, still watching. No one wants to talk about it anymore. In fact, no one's really talking at all this morning. You resume marching. The sand has changed again. It's paler now, almost white. It crunches underfoot like crushed bone. You try not to think about that too hard. Parser calls a halt around midday. You all huddle under the thinnest strip of shade offered by a crumbling outcrop. He passes around the remaining water, 6 gulps per person, then pass it on. You catch a whiff of the skin. It smells like boiled wool and camel breath. Still you drink it like it's the nectar of the gods. Now here's your historical fact of the day. The Egyptian desert is littered with the bones of armies, not just Cambyses's. Ancient trade routes were dangerous, treacherous, and full of people who thought walking straight into death was a good idea. Your crew? Just one more page in a very dusty book. After water, you resume walking. No one says, "Let's go." Everyone just goes.
A few hours later, you see something strange. Not ruins this time. Not a mirage either. This thing is real.
It's a circle of stones, perfectly round, each stone etched with deep grooves like a fingerprint. In the center, a single black obelisk, short, maybe knee-high. It hums.
Not loudly, not in your ears. In your teeth.
You approach it slowly, not sure if you're feeling brave or just stupid. Someone reaches out to touch it, an archer, name of Ramin. The moment his fingers brush the surface, he jerks back like it burned him.
It's buzzing, he says. Another soldier asks, "What does that mean?"
Ramin shrugs. I think it likes us.
Nobody laughs.
Then Parser says, "Move on. Whatever it is, it's older than our gods, and we don't have time to bow to new ones." You keep walking.
As the sun begins to fall, something unexpected happens. It rains. Sort of.
Not real rain, just a handful of wet, sour drops that fall from nowhere and evaporate before hitting the ground. You try to catch one on your tongue. It tastes like old metal. Someone jokes, "Maybe the desert's sweating." You file that under funny but not helpful. By nightfall, the wind returns. This time it's colder and it whispers again.
You swear you hear words, actual words.
Turn back. Go further. Sleep now. Your brain can't decide which is worse. You lie down, wrapping your cloak around your shoulders. You've lost count of how many days you've been walking, of how many men have fallen behind, of how many are still with you. You don't even know how far into the desert you are anymore. The sun rises in the wrong spot. The moon has stopped being a circle. It's a grin now, crooked and smug. In the early hours, one of the soldiers screams. You bolt upright, grabbing your spear. Everyone is on alert. Shadows dance in the firelight. But there's no enemy, no ambush, just the screaming man pointing.
There, it was right there.
What was?
I don't know, it was tall, made of dust. Everyone looks, nothing. Parser glares at the man. Sleep or walk?
The man doesn't sleep. He just sits, staring into the dark, eyes wide, not blinking.
At dawn he's gone.
Not dead, just gone. No footprints, No sign he ever existed. His bedroll is neatly folded. His spear is upright in the sand.
You don't talk about it.
Instead, you talk about crocodiles. Someone brings up the Nile and how the locals used to smear crocodile dung on their skin as sun protection. That's why the gods avoid us. Someone jokes, we smell like toilet offerings. Everyone laughs, the first real laugh in days. But it doesn't last, because that night the lizards return. Small ones, dozens of them, scurrying around camp, darting between packs and bedrolls. One climbs onto your knee, pauses, and stares directly at you. Its eyes are gold, not glowing, just reflective, intelligent.
You blink, it's gone.
Someone whispers, they were listening.
To what? To us, to the desert.
You look around, and everyone is thinking the same thing.
You're not alone out here. You never were. And now whatever's out there knows you're still alive.
By now, you've stopped asking questions like, how long have we been out here? Or when do we arrive?
No one knows, no one dares guess.
The desert doesn't care about your calendar. It stretches time like taffy, pulling it until all the days blur into one long moment of dust, sweat, and silence. This morning, the silence is broken by a single word. Oasis. You blink. Surely someone's joking. You scan the horizon. And there it is, green. Real green, like a pop-up book illustration. A burst of colour where only beige has existed for weeks.
A few palms, a flicker of water, maybe birds, maybe not. You don't care. You run. Everyone runs. Feet pounding sand, packs bouncing, weapons forgotten. There's an almost childlike giddiness as you approach. The water shimmers like a living thing. Your mouth is already remembering what cold feels like.
You dive.
And land face first into dust.
The palm trees are twisted sticks. The water is a thin layer of salt crust. Even the birds were just bones lashed to reeds, waving in the heat. Someone falls to their knees. Another starts laughing. A third man, silent for days, just weeps quietly.
Mirage.
Historians still debate whether mirages are purely visual tricks or symptoms of deeper neurological collapse. Either way, yours had sound.
Parser says nothing. He just turns and walks. You follow, dizzy with humiliation and thirst.
Now here's a historical tidbit to take your mind off your dry tongue. The ancient Persians believed that false visions in the desert were messages from Ahura Mazda, their god of light, testing the soul. You wonder if failing the test gets you a second try or just a sunburned eternity. The terrain begins to change again. Less open sand, more rocky crags. You find shade in narrow ravines moving like beetles along cliff walls. It's cooler here, not pleasant, but less murderous. You reach a gully where something odd sticks out of the earth.
Wood.
You rush forward thinking wreckage, storage, a barrel of water miraculously buried for centuries, waiting just for you.
Nope.
It's a chariot. More accurately, the remains of one. Shattered spokes, a single wheel. Strips of bronze that used to line the edges. And bones. A hand still clutching the reins, now fused into a fist of ivory.
You all stand still, even Parser. This is no random artifact. It's yours.
Your army.
Your past. You realize now you are walking in a slow spiral. The storm didn't blow you away, it turned you around. The desert has folded your path like paper. You're looping. This is where we already died, someone whispers.
That night, there's a strange mood in camp. People get quiet. Too quiet, like everyone's trying not to wake something.
The
The stars seem sharper, the wind more deliberate.
And that's when you hear it.
Drums.
Far off, steady. Boom, boom, boom.
No one's playing them. No one can say where they come from, but they're there. Deep in the sand. Like the bones of the earth are marching without you. Parser listens for a long moment, then says, "Keep watch tonight." You draw first shift. You sit with your back to a stone, eyes on the horizon.
And then you see it. A light.
Soft, flickering orange.
Not fire, not quite. More like a memory of fire.
It drifts just above the sand, moving slowly.
Another appears.
Then another.
You count 12.
They hover for hours, never close, never far, like curious ghosts.
You nudge the man beside you. See that?
He squints, nods. Do we follow? Do we ever? The lights vanish at dawn.
Everyone's too tired to talk about them. Too tired to question why footprints crisscross the camp that don't belong to any of you.
That day you pass more bones. A rib cage here, a jawbone there, some ancient, some not.
One still has hair.
You don't ask whose. By sunset the air changes. It smells different, like iron and ash. The sand underfoot crunches in a new way. You step carefully, every instinct on edge. That night, Parser orders no fires. You sit in the dark, listening.
No one speaks.
Then the wind picks up.
Only this time it brings laughter.
Not loud, not cheerful, just a thin giggle stretched across miles.
You cover your ears. It doesn't help.
Whatever it is out here, it's watching now.
And it knows your names.
In the morning, nobody says a word about the laughter.
Not the soldier who wet himself in the night. Not the one who woke up standing barefoot 10 feet from camp with no memory of moving. And certainly not Parser, whose hands now shake when he ties his cloak, even though he pretends they don't.
Everyone just gets up, packs their things and walks. You've learned the rules of the desert now. Rule 1. Don't talk to the voices. Rule 2. Don't follow the lights. Rule 3. Keep moving. The dunes rise higher today, their ridges sharper. They look like frozen waves mid-crash. You climb them carefully, trying not to look back. Behind you, the footprints seem to vanish as fast as you leave them, swallowed by wind. Ahead, just more sky, more sun, more nothing. Someone jokes, "We found the end of the world and it's beige."
No one laughs. Around midday, you see movement ahead. At first, you think it's another mirage, but it moves against the wind. People, or at least shapes, tall, thin, hooded.
You call out. The figures stop.
One lifts its head. Beneath the hood, no face, just shadow. And then they vanish. Not into the dunes, not behind a rock. Just blink, gone. You don't tell anyone. No need. They all saw it too.
Parser says nothing, but he walks faster after that. Here's your authoritative historical fact for the day. In the 1990s, satellite scans of the Western Desert revealed unexplained trail-like markings stretching for miles, lines where no modern road existed, possibly made by ancient troop movements. Some believe they're linked to Cambyses' army. Others say they're natural. Historians still debate whether they're proof of a lost campaign or just the desert playing tricks on metal. That evening, you arrive at what used to be a temple or a tomb.
Or maybe both. It's half buried in sand carved into the base of a jagged cliff. Symbols run along the doorway, worn smooth by time. No one recognizes the language, not Egyptian, not Persian, not Greek.
But someone says it's watching us. And for once, that doesn't sound like a metaphor. Parser decides to rest here. Shelter is shelter. You set up camp beneath the leaning wall, listening to the wind moan through hollow doorways. Inside it's cooler, but not comforting. There are bones here, piled neatly in corners, arranged in circles. Some look polished, others fused together like they melted in heat. You sit beside a cracked pillar, trying not to look at the walls. They're covered in paintings.
Scenes.
A man with no eyes leading a crowd into fire.
A serpent swallowing a pyramid.
A group of men kneeling before a woman with 3 mouths. You close your eyes. You open them again when the whispering starts.
Not voices this time, just a single word. Over and over. Further, further, further.
You stand, step outside, the moon is up, a thin silver hook in the sky. The dunes are shifting. You see it, watch them move, breathe, collapse and reform.
You want to wake the others, but then you hear it again.
Further. You don't sleep.
At dawn, someone's missing. Not unusual now, but this time it's Parser. His bedroll is there, his weapon, his water skin, even his boots. No tracks, just gone.
The remaining soldiers look at you.
You're not in charge, but no one else wants to be.
So you shrug, tie your cloak tighter and say, "We keep moving," because what else is there? By afternoon, the heat becomes unbearable. Even the wind feels like breath from an oven. You stumble into a narrow canyon for shade and nearly collapse from what you see. A pool.
Real, not a mirage.
You run forward, fall to your knees and cup it in your hand.
It's warm but wet. It smells like blood, but it's real. You drink, and so does everyone else.
Someone dares to laugh. Another splashes water on their face. For the first time in days, you feel something like relief.
Until you see what's at the bottom of the pool. Teeth. Hundreds of them. Not from one person. Different sizes, different shapes. Just teeth.
The laughter stops. You back away, and the pool drains on its own, as if embarrassed to be caught. No one speaks. You all walk on in silence. That night, no one sleeps.
Not because they can't, but because they won't. 'Cause sleep is where the desert finds you, and tonight you all hear it.
From somewhere beyond the hills, a sound like wind, if wind could growl.
Something is coming, and the dunes are listening.
The sun rises to find you already moving. Nobody had to say, "Pack up." Nobody needed to. Sleep, if anyone managed it, came in short, jittery bursts. Every twig snap, every grain of sand skipping across the rock had sounded like footsteps.
You're not rested, you're just not dead yet.
The group has shrunk again. No one counts anymore. You stopped around the time you realized names weren't helping. It's easier to grieve a number than a face. You head west, or what you think is west. The compass broke days ago and the stars haven't been behaving. The North Star, usually steady, isn't where it should be. You feel it in your gut. You're being redirected, not lost, not wandering, guided. The landscape shifts again, because of course it does. The dunes give way to salt flats, cracked and white, with patterns like shattered glass. They stretch to the horizon, broken only by distant, wavering shapes. You pass the time watching your boots crumble. The leather's dry rotted from sun and salt. Holes appear, soles peel back. Each step becomes more barefoot than the last. Your feet blister, break, and callous again. You try not to look.
Around noon, someone spots a structure in the distance. Not ruins, not a mirage. A tower. Alone, thin, black against the pale horizon. You get closer and it grows impossibly tall. No windows, no door.
Just there. A few men sit down and refuse to go farther. One whispers, "That's where they are." You ask, "Who?" He just shakes his head and says, "Doesn't matter, we're not supposed to see them."
You don't argue, you just keep walking.
Now for your daily, odd but true, historical tidbit. Ancient Achaemenid soldiers were trained to survive off battle cakes, compact bricks of flour, fat and dried meat. You're not sure if that's what you're chewing now, but it tastes like regret and camel grease. So, probably. The salt flats narrow into a rocky pass, and the air grows cooler. You think that's good news until you hear something else. Scraping.
Stone on stone. It echoes. You freeze. Everyone else does too.
You huddle close, eyes scanning the canyon walls. They're smooth, vertical like teeth. And then you see it.
A single figure walking the opposite direction. At first, you think it's another survivor, but it doesn't look tired.
It's too upright, too clean. Its robes are untouched by dust. Its face wrong. Not disfigured, not monstrous, just wrong. Like someone described a human to a sculptor who had never seen one, and they did their best. It passes you without a word. No glance, no acknowledgement. You wait until it's far, far away before anyone breathes. Then someone finally mutters, "I think it was reading us." The canyon opens again, revealing a small plateau. And on that plateau, a decision.
3 paths.
Left, a line of obelisks leaning like drunk monks.
Right, a field of bones, human, ancient, undisturbed.
Middle, just more sand, dull, ordinary, endless.
You all vote. No one votes for bones. Obelisks it is.
As you approach them, you notice the writing. Each obelisk has a different set of marks, symbols you don't recognize but feel like you've seen in dreams. One is cracked open, revealing a hollow core. Inside, nothing but dust and a small, carved eye.
Just the eye, floating, suspended in a block of glassy black stone.
You blink, the eye does not. Someone asks, "What happens if we smash it?" You say, "Let's not find out." The further you go, the more the obelisks lean until they almost touch. You pass beneath them like under a giant rib cage.
And then the humming starts again. Same frequency, same place, your teeth.
You feel it down your spine, a low vibration, a rhythm, and with it, a memory.
Of a seer, a shrine, a riddle. You'd nearly forgotten, hadn't you?
It happened weeks ago, or lifetimes, back before the armies split. You remember the woman with silver eyes, her voice like leaves. She had warned Cambyses. "Or the land you seek cannot be conquered, only consumed. You will not return, but your bones will." Cambyses had laughed. "We are the devourers," he'd said.
You feel like the prophecy didn't mean you would be doing the devouring. More like the opposite.
You walk through the last of the obelisks.
Behind you they fall.
Not all at once, one by one, like dominoes collapsing in slow motion. No sound.
No dust. Just gone. You don't turn around. You emerge into a plain dotted with black rocks. They glitter. Basalt, obsidian, meteorites.
One of the men pockets a small shard. 5 steps later, he starts coughing. By the 10th, he collapses. You leave the stone and him both behind. No one pockets anything else. The sun begins to set, but it's too fast. You watch it sink like a stone in water, plunged, not lowered.
And the sky? Not orange, not red.
Purple, deep and wrong. Stars already blinking, but not the ones you know.
It's night too soon. You make camp with no fire, not from fear, just instinct. Something is watching again.
But now you think maybe it's always been.
When you wake, the sand has covered your legs. Not just dust, not the usual settling, no, buried, half a foot deep, like the desert had started its work early, like it was trying to keep you.
You jerk upright, clawing free. Others do the same. One man screams when he finds a beetle inside his mouth. He crushes it against his tongue and spits blood. Nobody reacts. At this point, you could grow wings and no one would ask questions. You brush off the rest of the sand, though you suspect it'll be back by evening. The desert is patient. It has nothing but time. You do not.
And then a shape on the horizon.
It's not moving. A triangle, massive, dark against the morning haze.
Not a pyramid. You've seen pyramids. This thing is too steep, too clean, like it was designed by a creature who hated curves.
You walk toward it. The ground changes with every mile. First, soft sand, then pebbled basalt, then a crusted surface like dried honeycomb, cracked and echoing underfoot. You step on one plate and it vibrates, humming faintly.
You all freeze.
Someone stomps again. The hum answers. It's tonal, musical. You realize with a sinking feeling that you're walking across something that doesn't want to be walked on. The triangle grows taller, wider. By midday, you can make out symbols carved into its surface, long vertical lines and angled teeth. They shine faintly like moonlight caught in obsidian. One soldier calls them warnings. Another says they're instructions. You say nothing. You're too thirsty for riddles. And then comes the storm.
Not wind, not dust, sound.
A wall of roaring silence, so loud it sucks all the other sounds from your ears. You drop to your knees, clutching your head. Everyone else does the same. It's like standing next to a war drum the size of a mountain.
And just like that, gone.
No trace, no wind, no movement, just a ringing in your ears that doesn't stop.
After that, the desert changes. You walk forward, but the horizon doesn't move for hours. You test it, drop something, walk away, return. It's gone.
You mark the sand, it swirls, vanishes. The sky, meanwhile, has turned the color of bruises. No clouds. Just a dull violet, flickering now and then with streaks of green. Like heat lightning trapped behind a curtain.
One soldier begins reciting his own death rites. Another strips naked and buries himself up to the neck, whispering something about being harder to see that way. You don't stop them. You just keep walking. And then a voice, not human,
not external. It rises inside your skull, threading through your thoughts like a finger in a bowl of water. You are late. You drop your pack. Others scream. You all fall to your knees like the ground is pulling you downward.
Then it says nothing more.
And just like that, the triangle opens.
No door, no crack, just an absence. A slice of blackness yawns across the base. It's not a shadow. It's darker than that. You can't see the back. You can't see the floor. It looks like falling.
Barca would have said, we stay out. But Parsa's gone, so now it's up to you. You go in.
Inside, it's quiet. Not just silent, mute. The kind of silence that absorbs thoughts before they leave your mouth. It's cold.
Your breath fogs, but there's no wind. There are no walls, no ceiling, just faint blue lights pulsing at intervals in the distance. Floor? Sort of. You're standing, but it doesn't feel like stone or sand. It doesn't even feel real.
Someone whispers, "Is this a temple?"
Someone else, no, a tomb. You correct them both. It's a trap.
But it's too late.
The walls return, slowly, like closing eyes. The light dims, shapes begin to glow. Glyphs, diagrams, looping symbols, like musical notation made for an alien instrument. You hear sobbing behind you. One soldier's curled into a ball, murmuring apologies in 4 different languages. Another stares at one symbol and mutters. I've seen this in my sleep every night. You start to believe him. The chamber shifts, not visibly, not spatially.
Emotionally.
You feel watched, but not by eyes, by memory. Here's your historical hook for today. Some Egyptologists have found inscriptions referring to the army of the sand, a force swallowed by the desert after they offended the protectors of silence. Some think this means a local rebellion, others think it's allegory. Some think it's this place,
A hum begins, familiar from your teeth.
The same one that marked the obelisks, the same one that shook the cracked honeycomb ground.
It gets louder, sharper.
Until one man drops, nose bleeding, he claws at his own ears.
You grab him, pull him up, scream his name. He's deaf, eyes vacant, gone inside.
You move, all of you, toward the far light, toward anything.
And then the exit, another slice of dark.
You fall through.
Out the other side, onto cool sand, under stars you don't know.
You lie there, breathing. But it's not relief.
Because you realize something followed you out. It doesn't follow with footsteps. It doesn't breathe, doesn't rustle, doesn't cast a shadow.
But you know it's there.
You don't see it, you don't hear it. You just feel it.
Something passed through with you, something old, something not meant to leave. And now it's here, tied to you, like a whisper glued behind your eyes. The others sense it too. They don't say it out loud, but they all walk a little faster, a little quieter. Even the ones who haven't spoken for days start whispering prayers they don't remember learning. You check the sky. Still purple, still humming. Stars flicker in unfamiliar constellations, blinking like they're trying to send a warning in Morse code, but you never learned Morse, and the stars aren't patient teachers. You turn to your left and realize you're alone.
Again, not everyone made it out of the triangle.
Some didn't walk fast enough. Some never found the opening. Some just vanished.
And the ones who are with you now? They feel thinner. Not physically, spiritually. Like they've been scraped, hollowed out. You're pretty sure that includes you.
You look down at your shadow. It's there, but not moving right. It lags a bit. You test it. It stutters, then sinks. You pretend not to notice. The sand here is strange, flatter, harder. It sparkles like powdered glass. You kneel and scoop a handful. It sifts through your fingers with an electric prickle.
Then you see it. Footprints. Not yours, not your group's. Dozens, maybe hundreds.
Old, deep. Preserved like someone froze them in place. Some barefoot. Some armored. Some tiny. You follow them. Soon you begin to see pieces, a sword blade here, a camel saddle there, a snapped spear stuck upright in the ground, like someone meant to come back for it.
And then bodies. Hundreds, maybe thousands.
Half buried, wind-smoothed, some curled as if sleeping, others frozen mid-run. One has his mouth open like he's still screaming. No sound comes out now, of course. You recognize the armor, the pattern, the style.
It's your army.
Or what's left of it. You walk through them like a ghost among ghosts.
Then you see something worse. You see yourself, not exactly, but close. A figure in your same uniform, same build, lying there, mouth open, sand pooling in the eye sockets.
You check your own hands, your feet, you're real, you're alive, right? You look back, the others saw it too.
No one says a word.
Now for your historical fact of the evening. In 2012, a team of archaeologists led by Angelo and Alfredo Castiglione claimed to have discovered Persian arrowheads, bronze fragments, and ancient human bones near the dunes of El Gorabi, deep in the Egyptian desert, evidence, they believed, of Cambyses II's lost army. But their claims remain disputed. Historians still debate whether they proved anything or just stirred the sand. You stop beside a fallen standard. The emblem is almost gone, worn down to a thread, but it bears the symbol of Cambyses. You kneel, placing one hand on the cracked staff. It trembles, Behind you, someone mutters, "They're still here." You ask, "Who?" He gestures to the corpses. "Them. They're dead." He shakes his head. "Not all of them."
You glance back at the shadow beside you. This time, it isn't yours. It's taller. It stands still when you move.
You turn fast, nothing there. You try to laugh it off, but it comes out like a cough. Suddenly, one of the men begins to run, screaming, just gone, sprinting into the dunes like the sand has secrets he needs to hear now. You all stand there.
Then another man collapses, not from thirst, not heat.
He's laughing.
Not joyfully, not like a person. It sounds borrowed, imitated, like something trying to be human and getting it wrong.
You leave the field. Quickly. By nightfall, you've set camp miles away. You think it's miles. It's hard to tell anymore. You don't light a fire. The cold settles in. It gnaws at your joints. You huddle in your cloak, eyes open.
That's when you hear the chanting. Faint. Not Persian, not Egyptian, not anything.
It comes from the wind, from the sand, from beneath you.
You press your ear to the ground.
It's there.
Voices. Thousands. You back away, crawl to your feet, heart pounding. You whisper, "Do you hear that?"
Everyone nods.
No one knows what it means.
You lie down again, this time on stone.
Cold, smooth, flat.
You brush away the sand.
It's a floor, a tile, glazed, and beneath it symbols, a spiral, a mouth, an eye.
Just like the ones in the black triangle.
Only older. Much older.
You fall asleep wondering if the thing that followed you out is below you now.
Or inside.
You wake with sand in your ears and blood on your lips.
Not much, just a crack from the cold. But for one terrifying second, you wonder if it's someone else's. You sit up too fast, head spinning, eyes bleary. Around you, the camp is silent. Not just asleep, hushed, unnaturally so.
And you realize no one else is here.
Your group, what was left of it, is gone.
No prints, no packs, no sound. Just your gear, your skin, and the desert. You stumble to your feet, panic already choking your throat. The wind is still, the stars still watch. The bruised sky hasn't moved. You shout a name, any name. It vanishes into the void like it offended the air.
And then something answers. Not with words, with breath.
Hot close behind your ear.
You turn, nothing.
You whisper to no one, "I'm not playing this game." And the desert, polite as ever, does not answer. You gather what you can, your satchel, your cracked water skin, a dagger you don't remember owning, and start walking. No direction, no plan, just away.
An hour in, you spot them again.
The lights, those same flickering orange orbs you saw nights ago, drifting just above the ground, soft, curious. They seem closer now, bolder. You consider calling to them. Then remember, don't talk to the lights.
But they talk to you.
They form a line, a path, leading somewhere.
And what do you do when you have nothing left to lose? You follow.
They guide you to a cliff. You expected more sand, maybe a dune shaped like a skull for dramatic effect. But no, it's a ledge, a sharp drop into what looks like a sinkhole. Black, huge, circular, like someone punched a crater into the desert. The lights circle it, then descend.
And you, because curiosity is sometimes stronger than self-preservation, descend too. You slide, you fall, you catch yourself. Rocks crumble beneath your feet. Every instinct tells you this is a mistake. Every dream tells you this is where it ends.
You land, soft, too soft. The ground gives under your weight like warm flesh. You stand, legs shaking. It's not dark down here.
There's light.
Not firelight, not sunlight. Something beneath the walls, like veins glowing through skin, pulsing softly.
You realize you're inside something. Not a temple, not a cavern. Something living.
You take a step. The floor reacts, not violently, just acknowledging. You whisper, "Hello? And this time something answers. We remember.
You freeze.
Remember what? No reply. You step again. Walls rise from the ground, spires, ribs, shelves of ancient stone. Shapes form in the corners, not faces, not exactly. Just impressions. Memories molded into rock. Here's your historical fact for the day. Some desert cultures believe that places remember pain, that trauma seeps into stone. Some even call certain landmarks memory graves. Archaeologists scoff, of course, but they never spend the night alone where you are. In the center of this place is a basin.
It's dry, but the edges are wet.
You kneel beside it. Something tells you this was once sacred. Maybe still is. The stone is etched with carvings, loops, spirals, eyes again. Always the eyes. You reach out, touch the surface.
And you see them.
All of them. Your army.
Not dead, not buried. Frozen in place, standing in neat rows across the desert, eyes open, unmoving, like statues, like they were claimed.
You try to scream, but the air here doesn't carry sound. You fall backward, hyperventilating, shaking.
Because you understand now.
They never vanished, they were taken
By the desert, or whatever lies beneath it.
You stand, stumble, climb. You don't look back. You don't speak. You don't breathe deep until you're above ground again. The sky's no longer violet, it's red.
You don't know what day it is, or if it's still a day. You run.
And behind you, far behind, but rising, you hear the first note of something terrible.
A low, thunderous drone, like the earth's throat opening, like the desert starting to sing. You don't stop running until your legs give out.
And even then you don't lie down, you crawl. You crawl because rest feels like invitation, like if you stay still too long, the ground will remember you're here.
And you're not ready to be remembered.
You find a ridge, not tall but high enough to see. You drag yourself up it, scraping your knees raw on jagged rock, and when you reach the top, you freeze.
Because there they are,
Your army.
lined up across the valley floor. Not dead, not alive, just still. Ranks of soldiers, horses, camels, tents that should have torn to ribbons long ago, standing perfectly erect, like frozen fabric caught mid-billow.
You squint.
They're breathing, barely. Chests rise and fall once every few minutes. You can't believe it. You count again. Yes, rising, falling, but their eyes are open, wide, glazed. You whisper, "What did this to you?" And you hear it again. That voice, the one you met underground. We preserved.
Your skin goes cold. Preserved? Why? To study.
You're shaking now.
Not from fear, from fury. You slide down the ridge, careful, slow, but determined. You reach the edge of the formation. You wave, you shout.
No reaction.
You step up to one of them, an archer. You grab his face. His eyes don't move, but they see you. You can feel it. His lips tremble just a little. You whisper, "I'm going to get you out." He blinks, just once.
And you know he's still in there.
You turn to the next one and the next, each face the same, staring, silent, trapped inside a shell. Thousands.
They're not dead. They're paused.
Now here's your off-topic, but fitting fact. In some forms of medieval Islamic scholarship, scholars proposed that deserts were testing grounds for the soul, places where time thinned, and angels recorded your choices like ink on heat. You're not sure about angels anymore, but something is watching. You wander through the ranks for hours, hoping, searching,
Until you find him.
Cambyses II, still on his horse, still wearing that stupidly perfect white robe, still looking arrogant, but his mouth is slightly open, just enough for you to hear a sound, a slow, rhythmic chanting. Not Persian, not even words. Just a tone echoed from deep inside his throat like he's a radio tuned to something awful. You back away. He doesn't blink. Then he smiles.
Only a little.
You run, but not blindly. This time, you know where you're going. You head west, further than before, past the army, past the silent watchman. You're looking for a boundary, a threshold, an exit.
And then just before dusk you see it.
A line, barely visible, where the sand changes colour, where the air smells different. You step across it. The ground softens, the humming stops. Behind you, the valley is gone.
You blink.
Just dunes now.
No army, no ridge, no Cambyses.
The desert has rewritten itself.
You fall to your knees and scream. And the scream actually carries.
For the first time in days, the air listens. You cry until you can't. You laugh, you don't know why. The sun sets, and you sit there, arms around your knees, waiting for something to make sense.
Eventually you sleep. You dream of teeth, not fangs, not snarls, just teeth lined up, waiting, biting nothing.
You wake to silence, but not emptiness.
Because you're not alone.
There's someone standing nearby, not watching you, just waiting.
A man, simple robes, staff in hand.
He smiles. You made it further than the others.
You say nothing.
He points behind him. Keep walking. You ask, where? He shrugs. Where it ends. You follow.
Because what else is there?
As you walk, he tells you stories. Quiet ones, about sand gods and time loops, about empires that never existed and cities that were dreams someone accidentally built. He speaks like none of this surprises him. You ask, what was that place?
He doesn't answer.
You ask, what followed me out? He stops walking, then says, nothing that wasn't already inside you.
And you don't ask again.
You walk for what might be a day.
Or an hour.
Or a year. The man, he never gives a name, leads you across a new kind of desert. Not sand, not rock. Something else. The ground beneath your feet feels hollow, like dried skin stretched tight over a drum. With each step, it echoes, like someone's listening beneath. You ask him again, where are we going? He says, toward the end.
You say, at the end of what?
He smiles but doesn't answer.
Eventually, you stop trying.
The sky above has stopped pretending to be real. It's now a sheet of grey lit from behind, like stage lights behind paper. Sometimes it flickers. Sometimes you think you see something move behind it, like a shape or a face, watching. You try not to look up anymore. The man tells you more stories about a king who tried to outpace death and ended up walking backwards into it. About a queen whose army was swallowed by salt, not sand. About a god who divided the world into circles, one for each kind of mistake. They all tried to conquer the desert, he says. But the desert doesn't play chess. It eats the board. You nod, not because you understand, but because you're afraid not to. You rest beneath what looks like the petrified ribcage of a whale, except whales don't live in deserts, and these bones are bigger than any sea ever needed. You ask, what is this place? He finally answers, memory.
Not yours, not exactly. But memory, alive, shifting, with a taste for those who leave footprints.
As you move on, you begin to hear echoes, not from your own steps.
Voices, laughter, screams, chanting. You recognize some. They belong to your comrades, the ones who vanished, the ones whose eyes never blinked. You hear Passer. You hear the boy who saw the lights. You hear yourself.
But older.
You stop.
What is this, you ask? Are these ghosts? The man frowns. Not ghosts. Ghosts are what's left when someone dies. These are what's left when someone doesn't. You don't ask what that means. You just keep walking. At sunset, if it's really sunset, you see a city.
Not a mirage, you hope. Towers, pillars, walls, stone buildings etched with markings from a dozen lost civilizations. It's too much, too complete, too stitched together.
Like someone built it from pieces of forgotten places.
You hesitate.
The man keeps walking. He says, "The city only appears to the ones who survived." "Is that us?" you ask. He shrugs. "You may be."
You approach. The gates are open. Inside, it's silent. Not deserted, just waiting. No people, no birds, no wind.
But lights burn in windows, fires glow in hearths, water trickles through dry fountains. It's a city pretending not to notice it's dead. You wander the streets. The man walks beside you, saying nothing now, just watching. You find your own face carved into a wall.
Older, tired, mouth slightly open as if mid-question.
You touch it. It's warm.
Then you find another carving.
Cambyses.
Laughing.
Except this time, you see something new. Behind him, towering, coiled, stitched from stars and bone, is the shape that followed you. The thing from the triangle. The watcher beneath the sand. The devourer with too many names and not enough eyes. It's not touching Cambyses,
But it's inside him.
wrapped like a vine around his shadow.
You whisper, he was chosen.
The man beside you says he volunteered. You turn to him. "Why are you helping me?"
He looks at you for the first time. Not kindly, not cruelly.
Just directly.
And says, I'm not. And then he's gone.
No puff of sand, no vanishing light.
Just not there anymore.
You stand alone in the city of memory. The lights flicker. The silence grows heavy.
And then you hear footsteps.
Behind you,
Slow.
deliberate. You don't turn, not yet.
Because something tells you.
Whoever's behind you now wears your face. You turn around.
Slowly.
Because if the desert's taught you anything, it's this. Never meet the unknown too quickly. Let it see you first. Let it blink. Let it wonder.
But there it is. You. Not exactly.
Same height, same walk, same armor. Though yours is cracked, dusted with blood and salt, theirs is perfect, polished like it never saw a single grain of sand. Their face is yours too, but wrong. Smooth in places, yours are scarred. Unblinking where yours twitch. The eyes, flat, reflective, like glass held over something hollow.
Steps forward.
You step back, and then it speaks. "We remember you." The voice is calm, familiar, yours, but filtered through wind and time. You say nothing, because you don't want to interrupt yourself. You made it further than most, but not far enough. You laugh, dry, cracked, more cough than chuckle.
Who are you really? You ask. Memory? Ghost? Clone?
The other you tilts its head. Yes.
Helpful.
It reaches for your face. You step away.
It doesn't follow. Instead, it gestures behind you. And now you hear it again. Footsteps, more of them, dozens, hundreds.
You turn and see them. Figures walking down the city streets. All of them versions of you, taller, older, younger, starved, robed, armored, burned, faceless, familiar. Some stare at you with pity, some with hate.
One blows you a kiss. You mutter, okay, that's unsettling. But deep down you get it. This city? It's you, built from every version of what could have been.
The ones who turned back. The ones who died in the sandstorm. The ones who followed the lights. The one who stayed behind with Cambyses. The one who vanished in the triangle.
They're all here,
Still walking, still trying.
still trapped. And now you understand what the man meant. You didn't survive the desert.
You became part of it.
One of many.
One more recorded story. The other you steps forward again, and now there's something new in its hand.
Your spear.
Or at least a version of it. Perfect, unscratched, like the ideal of a weapon. It holds it out to you.
An offering? A threat? You hesitate.
And then the sky flickers. The whole city shudders. Buildings ripple, then blur, like melting wax. You fall to your knees as the ground tilts, no longer horizontal.
One of the many ewes screams. A terrible, bubbling sound. Another clutches its chest and explodes into ash. One by one, the duplicates begin to erode, not vanish, just fall apart, as if their stories have finally run out of words.
The spear hits the ground.
You crawl forward.
Because if everything is collapsing, you want to hold something real, even if it's a lie.
Your fingers touch the shaft, and instantly everything freezes.
The city pauses. Mid-collapse, the sky stops flickering. The wind stops. The silence returns. But this time it's listening.
And you hear a single sentence.
Choose what survives. You look around.
At the many ewes, at the city, at the spear in your hands, and you whisper, "What if I choose nothing?"
The voice answers, "Then nothing remembers you." Here's your historical fact of the day. In the ancient Persian religion of Zoroastrianism, the soul is judged after death at a narrow bridge called Chinvat, a crossing where truth determines whether you fall or pass through. You never thought you'd miss bridges. At least they were honest. You stand.
Alone now. No other versions.
No watchers.
Just you, spear in hand, city gone still. And on the far edge of the plaza, a gate. Stone, simple, open.
But waiting. You walk. Each step echoes like it belongs to someone else.
At the threshold you stop.
Not because of fear, but because behind you the city begins to whisper.
Not words. Memories. Your first footstep into the sand. Your commander's voice.
The boy who joked about crocodile dung sunscreen.
The man who followed the lizard.
Passer whispering, "Keep watch." The laughter in the dark. The pool of teeth. The heartbeat of the triangle.
Your own voice, broken, desperate, screaming into the sand. Is anyone still out here? You take one final breath.
And step through the gate. The gate doesn't lead where it should.
It never does.
No road, no river, no triumphant return to civilization. Just grey.
Colourless, borderless, soundless. You're not standing, not walking, not falling, just moving without body or direction, like being thought instead of person. And then light.
A crack opens, and through it you step into a world that is, finally, impossibly, normal. The desert is behind you.
Literally.
You glance over your shoulder and there it is, stretching to the horizon, same as always, wind blowing, dunes shifting, sun heavy and indifferent. But your boots are on stone now.
And ahead, people. Not your army, not Persians. Locals, traders, nomads. People whose skin hasn't been flayed by wind or watched by gods. They blink when they see you. Some recoil. A few gasp. You must look awful.
You try to speak, but your throat gives you sand.
One man, a merchant maybe, runs forward waving his arms. He shouts in a language you vaguely recognize. Are you Persian?
You nod weakly. He helps you sit, offers you water. You drink it in one long, shaking pull, and it tastes like life. Where did you come from? He asks. You point behind you. He follows your finger, sees nothing but sand. He frowns. There's nothing out there.
You whisper, exactly.
Later, you sit by a fire. They feed you, talk to you, offer blankets. One child even draws your face in the dirt and says, You look like someone from the old stories. You ask what year it is.
They tell you
You laugh.
you shouldn't.
You're about 50 years late.
They say that's impossible. You say, try me. One man, older than the rest, leans forward.
He says, "There's a legend, you know, about a great army, disappeared, headed south, never returned." You nod. He asks, "Did you see it?"
You say, yes.
He asks, "What happened?"
You don't answer.
Because how do you explain a desert that sings, or a king who smiles with borrowed eyes, or a triangle that opens not into space but into your own reflection?
You sleep that night beside the fire, but you don't rest because the dreams are back. Not visions now, memories. You see every step, every face.
Every footfall lost in sand.
And one more thing, a thread running through it all, invisible but tight. A presence, a watcher, still watching, even now.
Here's your final strange but true for the evening. In the Sahara, there are stories passed down among the nomads about a cursed place called Zazura, a city of white stone guarded by silence and ruled by a sleeping king. Western archaeologists say it's a myth, but maps drawn centuries ago sometimes mark a blank spot with just one word. Beware. The next day, you begin writing it all down, with charcoal on linen, ink on stone, with your voice, hoarse and cracked, spoken to anyone who will listen. Most don't believe you. Some do. One man listens with wide eyes. He returns weeks later with parchment and questions. He asks if you'll go back. You say, "I already am." 'Cause here's the truth.
You never really left.
Something about you is still in the sand.
Still walking, still remembered, still being studied.
And late at night, as the fire burns low and the stars flicker above, you hear it again. Faint, distant, but unmistakable.
Marching.
Slow, endless.
Footsteps of an army still crossing a desert that refuses to forget.
You try to live.
Really, you do.
You stay in the village. You help carry water, trade for dates and salt, learn the rhythm of a world that isn't made of screams and bone.
They give you a new name, not because you asked, but because the old one feels too big, too haunted. They call you Safid, the pale one.
Fair enough. Every night you sit by the fire with the others. The children play. The men gamble with dice made from goat knuckles. The women sing softly, songs that seem to have no beginning and no end. You laugh when appropriate. You nod in all the right places. You even fall in love once for 3 days. But always, just behind the edge of vision, you see it. A ripple in the heat.
A shimmer in the dark.
A shape that followed you out. It never speaks.
It never moves.
But it waits. You start drawing in the dirt, circles, spirals, eyes. You wake to find them scratched into the wall of your hut, not by you, or not while you were awake. And sometimes, just before dawn, you walk to the edge of the dunes and press your ear to the sand.
It still whispers.
It still remembers. One day, a caravan comes from the north. One of the travellers carries a strange item in his pack, something found in a place no one goes anymore. He unwraps it at the fire.
Bronze insignia, faded, bent, clearly old.
But unmistakable. You reach for it. It's yours. From your uniform.
From the army.
From the life you buried beneath wind and silence. The man says, "We found hundreds of them, out in the hollow lands, all buried together." You ask, "Did you see any bodies?" He shakes his head.
No bones, just footprints.
You say nothing.
'Cause you already know why.
You spend that night sitting on a high ridge, wrapped in your cloak, staring at the horizon. You don't sleep, you just wait.
And the next morning, you walk away. No one stops you. They know better.
You walk alone back toward the place no one goes, no pack, no spear, just your breath, your skin, and the hum in your chest that never stopped. After 3 days, the air begins to shift.
After 5, the dunes tilt in directions they shouldn't. After 7, you find the footprints.
Your own.
Still fresh.
You follow them in a slow spiral.
Around and around, until you reach the center.
There is no triangle now, just a flat stone. You kneel, you press your hand to it.
And you say, I'm ready.
The ground sighs,
Not loudly.
just enough to let you know it heard. Then the sand begins to rise.
Not fast, not violently. Just purposefully. You close your eyes.
You smile,
You let it take you
and beneath it all, the hum grows louder.
until you are part of it again. Until you are the memory. Until someone else finds a footprint they don't remember leaving.
So that's how your story ends.
Not with a victory parade or a noble death beneath banners, but with quiet. With sand folding over your body like a blanket. With memories that refuse to settle into history.
Cambyses' army didn't die in a battle. It wasn't slaughtered by rebels or drowned in the Nile. It walked into a place not meant for people and was kept, preserved, studied, remembered in a way that makes the word memory feel heavy and wrong.
And you made it out. You made it back. But leaving didn't mean escaping. You carried something with you, something that watched, something that waited. Maybe the desert was never a place. Maybe it was always a thing, a being, a mirror that showed what was inside, then made it permanent.
They'll tell stories of you now, the lone survivor, the man who returned, the mad one, the prophet, the cursed, the liar.
And one day, someone will follow your footsteps. Someone curious. Someone brave. Someone arrogant.
They'll walk into the sand, and the desert will open again.
'Cause it always does. And maybe, just maybe, they'll hear the same things you did, see the same lights, feel the same pull. And maybe at the very center of it all, they'll find you, still waiting, still whispering.
Still choosing what survives. Good night.